Well, preparation for this year's general election is well underway, but during this week's Commissioner's Court, the topic of early voting locations and hours was brought up. All before November's midterms, it's going to be a big topic of discussion. Here's Brittany DeFran with more.
During this week's Commissioner's Court, many people spoke up in hopes of adding locations and extending hours for early voting this year. But with many moving parts, the Commissioner's Court was unable to come to a decision. The number of election workers needed to man polling locations may be growing.
We need about 200 people for Election Day working the polls to be sure that we have adequate staff. If we add those 4 locations.
Adding Zion Church of Curtin to the list of early voting polling locations is the initial amendment proposed by Commissioner of Precinct 2, Russ Ford. But there's concern over staffing shortages.
Some people feel that, driving 20 miles is a little bit of a burden. But staffing for those extra locations is monumental.
Along with Ford's proposal, Commissioner Irma Cawley of Precinct 4 suggested to also extend hours in hopes of providing the working class more opportunities to vote.
It's not easy to vote during the middle of the business day, and they're not working close enough to these polling locations that they can take that time during their lunch hour. So I think it's very important that we make it easy for people to vote.
Election Administrator Trudy Hancock says to add 4 additional locations and extend hours would cost nearly $12,000. But one resident who resides in Precinct 2 believes other options should be considered.
I know there's issues with cost of having a polling place open and also finding poll workers. Well, my suggestion would be just completely close the Arena Hall and make the alternative somewhere out in Curtin, either at the Zion Church out there or the community center.
County Judge Dwayne Peters says he's hesitant to consider changes this late into planning.
To change it's going to be, in my opinion, very difficult at the least, and maybe even worse. So I'll still have the position that I've got and expressed.
Ford says this is a very important issue he would like to see addressed and believes can be before early voting begins. Reporting Brittany DeFran, KRHD News.